Boys, what is up? It is your boy D, and this is DeezCards. Welcome back to another $30 deck profile challenge. It's been a while. Ice Barrier Structure deck I think was the last one that I did, but now I got 3 copies of the Cyber Strike Structure deck, and I'm super excited for this one. You know, it's maybe not the best meta-relevant deck, but it can do a lot, and it's really fun to play. Hey, by the way, if this is your first time on the channel, thank you for stopping by. This channel is all about content for the boys, regardless of gender. So thank you, and if you're here, you are one of D's boys. So don't forget to hit that notification bell as well as that subscribe button so you always know when I'm dropping more hot fire content. Now I will say that I built this deck without looking at any other deck profiles first, like I always do on my $30 deck profile challenges. It might be pretty similar to a few of the other ones that you've seen, like Team Sam or whoever else has done one. I looked one up after the fact, Team Sam's, and it was relatively similar. There might be a few different ratios and tech choices and combo ideas in my deck profile than his that gets you going in the right direction. So if you haven't picked these up yet, it also comes with Infinite Impermanence, which is a great meta staple card, and it has a lot of really good Cyber Dragon cards that used to be a lot more expensive. So this deck by itself is actually a pretty good value, and I'd recommend picking it up even if you don't really want to play Cyber Darks. Check out the deck profile. I'm going to do a little test hand combo video, and then we'll get into the card by card, so you don't want to miss any of that. Let's get it going, boys. Alright boys, let me give you a little combo video. There's actually so much you can do, like with the various opening cards in your hand. There's probably quite a few different ways to get your combos going. There's ways to play through interruptions and stuff, but I'm just going to draw a test hand and pretty much explain what I would do, because the thinking is almost always the same. Go second, draw your extra card, get to a big Chimera Tech Over Dragon, and just try to win the game. Gather up as much resources in the graveyard as possible. So let's do this, and then I'll show you the card by card. And then you get your 6th card for going second. Nice little reward for playing a going second deck. And let's see what we got here. Cybernetic Horizon, Fusion Deployment, Cyberdark Claw, Cyberdark Edge, Cyberdark Core, and a second Fusion Deployment. So we didn't get very lucky there with the second Fusion Deployment, but that's okay because we can turn that into a power bond with our combo. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to activate our Fusion Deployment so we can reveal our Cyber End Dragon. And then we can, off of that, special summon a Cyber Dragon from the deck. Pretty much just going to be more fuel for the fire at that point. Then I'm going to activate our Cybernetic Horizon. You had to send one from hand, so I'm going to send the Cyberdark Edge because that card's not very good. And then off the Cybernetic Horizon, you get to send one from deck with a different attribute. So I'm almost always going to send the Cyber Dragon Hers to the graveyard. Okay, so then we get to search a Cyberdark monster. So here I'm going to search a cannon, Cyberdark Cannon. Then we get to send one from our extra deck to the graveyard. You could send the big boy, you could send Cyber Darkness Dragon for follow-up later on if you want to negate. It doesn't really matter to me, but I'm going to send a Cyber Darkness Dragon to the graveyard. Alright, so we got 5 cards in the graveyard, 1 monster on the field, and we have 4 cards in hand. So the resource game is pretty strong. If there was a hand trap involved, we'd still have quite a few things we could do. We haven't normal summoned yet, so keep that in mind, boys. Pretty crazy. I'm going to activate the Cyberdark Cannon and pitch it. And I'm going to search a Chimera. Then I'm going to activate the Cyberdark Claw and pitch it. Graveyard is loading up nice, so we can make a huge Chimera Tech Over Dragon. And then I'm going to search our Cyberdark Realm. Don't even really need to use that right now, but we can get an extra normal summon if we do. So I'm going to normal summon our Cyber Dragon Core. We can search ourselves that copy of Cyber Eternal. Then we can activate Cyber Dark Realm. And this is why you kind of have to play the bricky ones, because it needs to be a card that's not in your graveyard, and our graveyard's already loaded up with 2 of the good ones. So you got to search out one of the bricky ones. So I'm going to search out the Horn because it's right here. Add that to our hand, and then Cyber Dark Realm, optionally you can get an extra normal summon. So this hand is actually playing out pretty good. So we'll get that Cyber Dark Chimera normal summoned, and then we can activate that Chimera, pitching our second Fusion Deployment, and that will let us search a Power Bond from deck to hand. So combo is going off exactly as we planned. Get that Power Bond to our hand. So 3 monsters on the field. We got a spell card. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards in grave. Pretty good resource gathering, honestly. And then Cyberdark Chimera is going to let us basically do an overload fusion with the Power Bond where we can banish monsters from our graveyard. let's do that and make a big Chimera Tech Overdragon. And we have the Cyber Eternal, so we could banish, we get to special summon the other card from our graveyard. But remember, Chimera Tech Overdragon requires you to send all other cards you control to the graveyard when it's summoned. So you're going to want to do the Power Bond first. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So banish those guys off the Cyber Dark Chimera effect because it lets you banish from graveyard. Let's send these to the graveyard. Power Bond lets you use monsters from the field. Pull ourselves out a Chimera Tech Overdragon. That's going to send our continuous spell to the grave. That's fine. Doesn't really matter. It did its job. And then we still have 2 cards in hand. We can activate that Cyber Eternal if we want to special summon this guy, Cyber Darkness Dragon. And then when he's special summoned, you can attach a card from the graveyard. Might as well attach Cannon because that's going to bring him up to 3600 attack, and then if Cannon goes to grave, you get a draw. This Chimera Tech Overdragon has 8000 attack and can attack 5 times. So if they have anything in attack, you're going to do some big damage. Then this guy can swing in for 3600, and you also have the ability to send this to the grave to get a negate and then draw a card off of this. So that is a pretty basic combo. I genuinely just shuffled my deck and drew cards. That was a pretty good hand because that extra spell card allows us to use the Cyber Eternal instead of having to pitch it to grave to search the Power Bond. So yeah, not bad. I mean, if there was any hand traps, this guy would not have come out probably, but we still would have been able to make this. So let's go over that card by card, boys. I hope you're excited, because I am. Oh, heck yeah, boys. We are in it now. We got our 3 Cyber Dark End Dragons posted up here. Obviously, the deck comes with 5 extra deck cards. And if you have 3 copies, then you have 3 copies of everything. So we got 3 of the Cyber Dark End Dragon. If you try to summon this guy by its normal condition, it's probably not going to happen, but there are ways to cheat this out, though it might not be your best choice. You have the 3 Cyber End Dragon. That boy is big and he does some piercing damage. Can't complain about that. You summon it off Power Bond, it has 8000 attack. We'd like to see that. Really big fan of this card, the artwork, everything. The fact that it's hollow in here is great, ultra rare. Then we have 3 of probably the worst one, which is Cyber Dark Dragon. It has 1000 attack and defense to start. It needs 3 specific cards to be summoned with, and all it does is equip a card from the graveyard to boost its attack, and all it has is battle protection, so it's not even that good, but we're going to play 3 of it anyway. The one that is better, the upgraded one, Cyber Darkness Dragon. If you can get the graveyard set up with 5 Cyber Dark effect monsters, which honestly isn't that hard, maybe on turn 1 it's kind of hard, you can get a negate on the board, which is way better than just a big boy. Probably the best card to win games with in this deck is Chimera Tech Overdragon. Because if you're blind going second, and you can Kaiju or Imperm and stop your opponent a little bit, but they still end with a few attack position monsters, you should be able to make a pretty big one of these and just attack into everything with Power Bond and go for game right there. I think it's your best bet. Let's get into that main deck, boys. We're going to start off with, as I mentioned, this deck can be really consistent, and we're playing a lot of Searcher cards. So let's start off with 3 copies of Cyber Dark Realm. So when this card is activated, you get to add a Cyber Dark monster from your deck to your hand with a different name from the cards that are in your graveyard, which kind of stinks, but on turn 1 it's not going to matter. Everything's pretty much once per turn anyway for the Searcher cards, the other Cyber Dark cards that search. So it's not going to really matter all that much. And then after you get it in your hand, you're able to normal summon. That gives you an extra normal summon, which is pretty nice. And then it has an additional effect to equip from your opponent's graveyard, but I feel like that probably won't come up too much. And then we're playing 3 copies of Cybernetic Horizon, which might be a little bit stronger than Cyber Dark Realm. It doesn't have the restriction of what's in your graveyard, limiting what you can send to the graveyard. It sends 2 cards, and it sends a card from your extra deck to the graveyard, which you can then use to cheat out with another one of the fusion spells that come with the deck. So that's pretty awesome. The only downside is that you need to have a monster in your hand, but unless your opponent has like 4 negates up, you should be able to get at least 1 monster in your hand to make this live. And because we're only playing with 3 of the structure decks, pretty much every single monster in your deck is going to be live. Then we're going to run out 2 Cyber Dark Chimera. I really like that this is pretty much the monster that your combo lines are going to get into from the Cyber Dark side, and then you're going to be able to search a power bond at the end of the combo, which is really nice. So you're always going to be able to have access to a fusion spell as long as you see any of the starter cards, and that's nice because the fusion deck is your best friend in the 3-copy structure deck edition of this deck. You can't do a whole lot without the fusion deck, so being able to search a power bond with this is pretty awesome. And then playing 2 Cyber Dark Cannon, it can search Cyber Dark Chimera pretty much. It has to be a machine Cyber Dark card, so it's not going to be able to search the next one. 3 copies of Cyber Dark Claw, which can search any spell trap in the deck. So this one I play at 3 because it's a little bit better than Cannon. Cannon pretty much is just going to get you to Chimera. There may be a few instances where you want to search one of these guys, the original Cyber Dark cards, Cyber Dark Edge, Horn, and Keel. I play one of each of those just because, you know, you have the option to make Cyber Dark Dragon. Sometimes if you can't get to your fusion deck or you're restricted from special summoning, a normal summon of this guy with either Claw or Cannon in the grave is somewhat decent, and they'll get up to 2400 attack. So it's worth playing a couple copies of these. These are also searchable by Cannon. So it's kind of nice just to have a couple extra targets. Now, I'm playing 3 Fusion Deployment. This card could easily become Machine Duplication. I'm playing 3 of this because it has no restriction. It's a free Cyber Dragon on the board, always, and you don't have to worry about what's in your hand or what's in your graveyard. I like the more consistent plays because we don't want to brick. This deck isn't really all that strong on its own, just the structure decks, so I really want to make sure that we're consistent, and this is a free Cyber Dragon on the board, which is pretty nice. And or it could bait a negate. If you start with this and your opponent doesn't know what you're up to, it might bait out the negate and then get your better searchers off. So I'm playing 3 of that. I'm also running 3 Cyber Emergency, just a very strong searcher. So here's 3 of the core. On normal summon you can search a Cyber. It's important to note that that can also search the Cyber Dark stuff because it has the word Cyber in the name. So you can use Core to go down the Cyber Dragon line, or you can get into the Cyber Dark stuff, which eventually pretty much just leads down into getting Power Bond. I'm playing 2 of the regular Cyber Dragon. I feel like without Machine Duplication, you don't need to play 3 of them, because if you draw into one, it's not that big of a deal. Maybe you'll pull one off of Fusion Deployment, or you'll search one off of hers during the combo. I don't think you need 3 of them. I'm also playing 2 Noxter. It's a free special summon, and if you pitch a Cyber Dragon, which is pretty easy to search, to the graveyard, you get an extra body on the field. That extra body isn't as big as if you were playing like with Cyber Dragon Seeger, the Link monster in the extra deck, but it's nice to be able to get 2 bodies on the board. It's 1 Cyber Dragon hers. Pretty much I just want to be sending this to the graveyard off of Cybernetic Horizon. This is pretty much the one card that you don't want to see in your hand because it doesn't do anything unless it's sent to the graveyard. So off of Cybernetic Horizon, I'll send this, and then once that card finishes resolving, you get to add the Cyber Dragon to hand. I'm playing the 1 Cyber Eternal because it can cheat out any of your extra deck cards. Cybernetic Overflow, pretty good. You know, if you can't OTK, it's probably the best card to have as follow-up because it's searchable, and you can pop cards on your opponent's turn, hopefully survive, and then finish the job. Playing 2 Power Bond. I mean, all the combo lines lead to searching it pretty much, but once you're out of the 1 Power Bond, you'd be out of stuff to do. So I really don't want to run just one of them, even though you could. I'm actually playing 42 cards in my deck, which kind of hurts. I'm a big fan of 40 cards, but you kind of need to. There's so many different things going on, and you have so many searchers, so it doesn't really matter. And then I'm playing 2 Overload Fusion. You can't search this one, so I feel like you need to play more than one of it. You just need to be able to fusion summon to do stuff with this deck. And then we're going second, so we need some going second cards. I think the best ones that come with this deck are the 3 Kaiju. Get rid of one of your opponent's problem monsters. Maybe give yourself a Kaiju if you draw 2 of them. And then the 3 Infinite Impermanence, which is the banger of this deck anyway. I mean, like, that's pretty much why I bought it, was to get this card. It's so good. It's a hand trap. It's a trap card. Does it all. Negates your opponent's monsters. You can pretty much stall them out using that, and then dropping a Kaiju on them, and then make a big boy and win the game. So I'm also going to explain that you probably want to build a side deck of like all the other trap cards in case you know your opponent's going to make you go first. Once they find out what you're playing, once you OTK them on the first game, they're probably going to make you go first. So on the side deck, you probably want to just go in heavy on the trap cards. You can side out the weak Cyber Dark cards like the original ones, and you can side out some of the other things like the Kaijus maybe, and you can play just a bunch of trap cards. So 3 Cyber Dark Invasion, it's a way to pop 3 Paleozoic Canadia, it's a Book of Moon, flip opponent's monster face down. 3 Call of the Haunted, you know, potentially if you just end with a couple Cyber Dragons on the field, it's a way to bring them back and stall out and not die. 2 Cybernetic Overflow, again, more pops on your opponent's turn. 2 Limiter Removal, if you end with like a regular Cyber Dragon on your side of the field and they think they can attack into it, maybe that's a way to trick them with a Battle Trap. And then 2 of the Gizmek Orochi. I mean, this card is really good going second, but I just feel like you don't have the capacity to banish 8 from this deck. You kind of need your combo lines available to you. It's a little bit too high roll for this deck. Alright boys, that is it for the deck profile. Let me know if you built this and what you think. I'll catch you guys next time. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about how anything works. And if you came here from TikTok, if you're a new subscriber, I just want to say thanks, and I'll catch you boys next time.